Hi, and welcome to Omni Edition Garden City. I am Dan York, and with me, two guests today. Officer Bruce Shippe from the Garden City Police Department. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
And our K-9 from the Garden City Police Department, Rudy, who is being very patient right now because Rudy would rather be moving around and not and not just sitting down. But let's talk a little bit about you. You are Police Officer of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tell us about your background. How long have you been a Garden City Police Officer?
I've been here 19 years now. I started out here back in 1991 as a reserve. So I got my feet wet here doing those kind of things and enjoyed it and moved on to Wyandotte to become a full-time police officer. And after 3 years, I got an opportunity to come back here to Garden City and been here ever since.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Westland,
Okay.
right on the border here of Garden City. So I was back and forth between all my friends living there in Westland and here in Garden City. Graduated from John Glenn. And
Okay. So a local guy makes good.
yes, yes.
So how does it turn out that you become the K-9 officer?
Luck. I luckily was selected for it 12 years ago. At least that's what I like to think. I know I put a lot of time into doing a lot of things when our now retired K-9 officer, Sergeant Matheny, was doing it. So helping out there, learning the craft, taking bites, showing up at demos, things like that. And then when the posting came, I was selected for it and been enjoying it ever since.
And you say taking bites. That means putting on
Yes.
that suit and letting the dog
Yes.
latch onto your arm.
Yes.
And even though the dog can't get through it, you can get bruised pretty good doing
It's
that,
a
right?
pretty good pressure, yeah. They have a remarkable pressure, so there's still that. And then there's still the skill level of, placing a dog on the sleeve in the right spot. And when he comes off, that he doesn't re-engage. So there's a lot more to it. A lot of people think it's really easy. Slide that sleeve on and take that bite, and there's a lot more to it than that. So
How long have we had Rudy?
we've had Rudy, he's 5.5 years. We've had him for 5 years. We got
Okay.
him very young, 6 months.
Which is ideal, right?
A little young,
Okay.
but he was my second dog. So we kind of thought about it and said, hey, listen, he's a young guy, great starting point. He had a great work ethic. So why not? A few months younger, but we'll get that much more service out of him.
Now, did he go through training independently before he was brought to Garden City?
No, that was the unique part about what I liked. The facility where we train at K-9 Academy training facility, they matched the dog and the handler from the start. Okay. So generally speaking, when I started, I had no training. My first dog had no training. When Rudy came to me, he had no training. So they teach us how to teach the dogs.
All right.
So truly remarkable experience. And for somebody like myself who's very, very interested in it, I got to learn a lot more than per se other facilities where the dog's pre-trained.
Right.
And then they give you the dog and say, here's how he works, kind of a quick instruction manual on it.
So now you work training other canines, is that correct, or helping with that?
Yes, like I kind of pointed out, the facility we're at, they bring a lot of dogs and handlers together, young in their career with no experience. So I was lucky enough to be chosen there to also be a trainer. So I get to participate in the training of the new teams and the maintenance work for 50-something odd departments throughout Michigan.
Throughout Michigan?
Yeah.
All right. What is some of the stuff that you learn and that the canines learn in training?
One of the biggest things we learn is consistency. Consistency and patience. Come here, buddy. Down. Stay. So that's one of the biggest things is consistency and patience. You have to let the dog know what you expect of him, and then we have to communicate with him. So you and I can talk about what we want and we can figure it out, but it's unique with these guys.
Sure.
So it takes a lot of patience, a lot of consistency, and just repetition.
So what is the primary responsibility of Rudy?
His primary responsibility is the use of his nose, so detection. So we use him for narcotics. There are bomb dogs out there. He doesn't do explosive searches, just narcotics. And then he's what we call a full-service patrol dog. So he does tracking, he does building searches, he does evidence searches, and then obedience and handler protection.
So just like you see on TV, if you have an article of clothing or something from somebody, can he use that to pick up a scent, or how does he do tracking?
Well, how we teach him to do tracking is he picks up the freshest scent that he can, and there's two things he can track. That's human odor and then crushed vegetation. So wherever we walk, we're emitting gases into the air from
Sure.
crushing vegetation, gravel, dirt, and so forth. And we're also shedding skin rafts. So those two combinations is what he tracks.
Okay.
So he'll either track both or one or the other, but he tracks the freshest scent. So he can't really identify a person, but he can tell us where that freshest scent is, and he'll follow that till it ends.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's unique.
Now he's really got a lot of energy. And you mentioned before you came in that he's had a lot of sleep.
We got off at 1 o'clock, so he had 8 hours sleep. He's ready to go.
But he really wants to be doing something.
Yeah.
He really wants to be doing locker searches or whatever. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, it's what he likes to do, and he's learned, like you mentioned early on, we do a lot of communication with the public, demonstrations and things like that. So he has a variety of tasks, but he loves working, and he considers whether he's out a couple weeks ago doing March Reading Month to the kids, or he's out tracking or searching for narcotics. He's learned that's his whole job. He just wants to do something like that. So
He doesn't want to be sitting here.
yeah, you can hear him kind of
He's kind of
displaying his pleasure right here
whining
now.
a little bit. He's not happy about it.
Yeah.
And he detects anything going on in the control room and anything that's going on around us. He's very acutely aware of all that.
Very, very attentive. That's part of his job, and what he's learned to do is paying attention to the things going on.
And I imagine, well, you mentioned before that we share his services. You will help in other communities where they have the need for a canine.
Yeah, we reciprocate, and they do the same thing. If it's a night I'm off of work or a morning, we work generally the night shift. Something happens, the area canine officers, the teams will come in here and assist, and we'll reciprocate and do the same thing for them.
Yeah. So now Rudy will stay with you for the rest of his life or your life. I mean,
Correct.
That's,
Correct.
And that's how it normally works with a canine, right?
Yeah, they're paired up with us, and unless something happens, they stay with us for the rest of their natural life.
Now, this is the third police dog that the city has had, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, the dog that passed away that got a little sick, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, he developed a cancer
Okay.
early on in his career.
So he would have stayed with you. Well, he did stay for you his entire life, as
He
it turned
did
out.
until he
but-
passed, yes.
Yeah. So and then Officer Matheny took that dog with him also when he retired,
Barron,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and he passed away also.
Right.
so.
Well, Barron that would have been 20 years ago, right?
12 years ago. Yeah, he got him 20 years ago.
Yeah, he got him
He worked
20
him
years
8
ago.
years, and then
Right.
he retired him 12 years ago.
Okay. All right. And also, I understand from Tim Gibbons, our new chief, you are also the field trainer for the Garden City Police Department as far as when the new guys come on.
Yeah, I'm one of them. We have 4 current trainers that bring, when the new officers come into the department, they're paired up with us, and then they rotate through to get everybody's a little bit different in the way they do things, and everybody's teaching level's a little bit different. So they get acclimated and exposed to different officers so they can develop their skills.
Yeah. And we've had a lot of new police officers come on because we've had a lot of retirements.
Yeah, we've had quite a few new officers come on, and luckily we've gotten some great officers out there. So it's made my job as a field training officer really easy.
Right. And Garden City, by the standards of the surrounding area, is a fairly small department.
Yeah, we are, just under 6 square miles.
Right.
But we are a very small department as compared to Westland, Livonia, Dearborn Heights, what's surrounding us.
Right. Just geographically,
Yeah.
if nothing else.
Yes, yes.
Right. And you are recognized by the police department. We mentioned at the beginning of the interview as Police Officer of the Year. That must be quite a thrill.
Yeah, I was surprised, and after 19 years, I was excited to get it.
And our friend right here, he locally, we talked about locker searches, stuff like that.
Yes.
I mean, is there kind of a routine that he has when you do something like that? Let's say you're going to the high school to do locker searches. I mean, he knows what he's there for, and
Yeah, but like we were touching on with the reciprocating with other communities, they come help us and we help them. So, probably on an average, we're 12 or 14 of those locker searches a year through the school year. So he develops in his mind real quick when you walk through those school doors what's going to happen, and he's ready to go. And
Yeah.
then once he's done, he's in his, I call it his PR mode. So he's pet me, rub me, scratch me, go ahead and take pictures with me.
Right.
And it just
But I mean, that's
enjoys
the
it
good
up.
thing about when you take them into elementary schools and stuff like that, because it helps with little kids to get them to not fear cops, and the easiest way not to fear a cop is with a dog.
You're exactly right, and that's one of the big roles, and that's one of the things I liked about early on. I learned a facility that we do our training at is they advocate that. I call it a light switch. So you go from work to personality, right? And they're a great ambassador. They bridge the gap. We're at a lot of community events, and almost everybody loves a dog. So they'll at least come up and start the conversation with a little bit about what he does and ask questions, and then it just goes from there. And I've met and made a lot of great friends just from people that come up and said, "Hey, how are you? Beautiful dog," and ask a few questions, and just goes
Are
from
there
there.
canine dogs that aren't good for PR purposes that you wouldn't take into a school and that you wouldn't want people to pet?
No, I mean that's part of his job. That's part of the job of the canine. So when we're selecting them, that social is the number one aspect that we're looking at. They've got to be social. They got to work around people at the minimum. And like I said, as you can see, he's like, pet me. And
He's got big feet.
Yeah, he sure does. He never grew into them.
Now I noticed,
buddy.
a couple of times we've had some unfortunate hoaxes at the high school and some problems
Down.
where they brought in bomb sniffing dogs from the state police. So that's kind of a whole different animal, if you excuse the pun.
Yeah, same theories of training them. They just locate explosives instead of narcotics.
Yeah.
So we've got several of those in our group also. Not the state police doesn't train with us, but Livonia is our closest one. They have an explosive detection dog.
Okay.
So we bring those in. The county has one or two of them, excuse me. So we bring those in too. So again, that's that reciprocating factor we get. We can make a phone call and get a bunch of his pals to show up and help out with things.
Does he socialize with other dogs?
He does not. Having so many teams, it's unique. He has to be around them. He has to be social. He has to be next to them. He has to work around them. But we don't let him play.
Yeah.
We don't let him play or interact on that kind of a level because he is a working dog.
Sure.
So he gets his enjoyment from working and gratitude from me playing and petting
Sure.
and so forth like that. So
And is he a German Shepherd, I assume?
he's
Is it?
a full German Shepherd
Full
from
breed?
Europe.
Okay. So was he born in Europe as a puppy?
He was born in Europe, and then the place that we get our dogs from in Ohio, they go over and select the dogs. So they have testing that they do, and then he brings back the ones that he feels are good for police work, and then we go down and look at them and pick them from there.
And he's had about enough of this.
He's watching people pop up and down, and he's like,
And how
"Okay."
much does he weigh? Yeah, really?
He weighs 74 pounds.
Okay.
Stay.
All right. So, I mean, he actually looks bigger than that.
He does. He does.
That's great. That's great.
He hears the door now.
Yeah.
He's like,
What is his strength, I guess? Does he have a strength as opposed to, other parts of his pedigree?
you mean like working abilities?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. What's he best at?
I tell you what, I can't just pick one thing. I'm lucky enough to truly just have a well-rounded dog that enjoys everything. So, like you said, I've taken him. At 1 minute you say his strength is communication because he's out running around with the kids in the school and playing and giving his ball up to them, and then the next minute he's out tracking and lots of successful tracks and narcotics finds. So, we're lucky that he has strengths in every area.
Well, thank you for bringing him
Thank
here
you.
to see us today, and we hope to do a demonstration with you when the weather's a little nicer
Absolutely,
outside.
we'd
when,
love to do it.
The grass is a little greener. Congratulations also on being Police Officer of the Year. Well-deserved honor.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, that's it for this edition of Omni Edition Garden City for Officer Bruce Shippe. And for our buddy Rudy here, that's it. I'm Dan York. Good night, everybody.